Welcome to the Sermon of the Week. Before you begin listening, let me pray that you would encounter God right where you are. Father, I ask that your Spirit would be present wherever people are listening. May they be aware of your presence and receptive to the voice of your Holy Spirit. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you as you listen to this week's message.
I hope all of you men had a good treat for your wives, treating them well this weekend. Valentine's Day. You know what? Lois and I were talking about it yesterday that, Valentine's Day, she's like, it's nothing really that special because it should be every day. We've had 41 years of Valentine's. I think we have can you believe that? That was us like 30, almost 40 years ago. Like, can you recognize that kid, that baby over there? It's like, dear Lord. I told Lois, I'm like, I knew nothing about being a man, being a father, being a husband. No idea whatsoever. She did all the knowing. So I just want to quickly share a verse with us this morning. Romans chapter 12, verse 10. And it says this. It says, be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another. Here's a key word. Above yourselves. That's something that we need to be reminded of all the time, that what we do is not for ourselves, that we want to honor God above ourselves. We want to honor others above ourselves, and especially when it comes to relationships in general. This speaks to me of a foundational principle when it comes to relationships. And we're talking about healthy, lasting, long communications with everyone and healthy relationship with everyone. It is based on this principle that we honor one another above the other. Love honors the other. Love is a devotion. It is commitment, dedication, and really when it comes to love, in short, it shifts the me to the we. It's no longer me, myself, and I, but it's both of us. And so it's important that we learn that love is about mutual respect. It's about healthy communications. And so today we have a treat. Adam and Tennille are members of this church. It's a beautiful family. And they're going to talk a little bit more about that. So I want to call them up to come on up, and would you just welcome them and bless them as they come? All right. Thank you for coming up, guys. What a blessing. Perhaps some of you have not met these guys, and so why don't we just start with, I know, Adam, that you wrote a little something that kind of like in a minute details the wonders of who you are.
Good morning. It's on? Yeah, it's okay. So this is just kind of give you guys a snapshot, and then we'll share a little bit more about who we are and kind of where we came from. So we both came from families that were fractured. Tennille's parents' relationship was restored. We both had unhealthy relationships prior to meeting each other. We both ventured out into the world on our own. We committed ourselves individually to the Lord and to community prior to meeting. We have moved 8 times together. We have been a part of 3 communities in our dating and married life. We are both passionate people. This adds to our adventure in life and also can be a barrier to conflict and reconciliation. We have hurt each other. We have healed with each other because of our surrender to Him first and to each other second. We can be prideful and stubborn. We deal with the same sins that everyone else does. We have learned good and consistent ways to come back together. We believe the Lord healed Shikri at birth. We have experienced 4 miscarriages together. We laugh and play more than we argue. We share a common heart and joy in raising our children. We both grew up playing sports and still enjoy them. We value playing games and doing activities with our children. Tennille really enjoys music. Adam prefers quiet. And we are both social and enjoy being with people.
All right, you're not the right people then. I mean, you sound very natural and normal. What's up with that? I mean, I thought we were bringing up some experts here or something.
No, we are definitely not that. And I think I know we need to tell a little bit more about ourselves, but I think that's something too that needs to be mentioned explicitly, is that even though I do what I do for work and that we've been married, I mean, you guys have been married 3 times longer than we have, right? So that it doesn't matter, right? The goal is to learn and develop how to come back together, right? It doesn't mean we face all the same stuff that everybody else is. I mean, and there's couples in here that have been married maybe even longer than you guys. So, yeah, we're not experts.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're all overcomers, and we've entitled this series. Years ago, we did a 3-part series on overcomers, because we really, in Romans chapter 8, verse 37, it clearly tells us that we are more than conquerors through Christ Jesus. And so it really, we go through struggles, we go through situations in our lives, and God's plan for us is to be overcomers. It's not to be defeated. It's not to walk in shame. It's not to walk in disappointment. It's just to really experience the fullness of God. And so today, as maybe you can just give us a little bit more about your family. We saw the picture. Maybe we can put it up. Tell us a little bit about your kids, and they're just amazing.
Well, our oldest, we had in Los Angeles before we moved to Charlotte. Well, now we're in South Carolina, but we moved to Charlotte. Aden was actually born in Charlotte. Shikri was also born in Charlotte. Aaron, and then Ian was born in Lancaster. And they've been a blessing. And it's funny because when Adam and I were first together and we did premarital, I was like, I'll have 2 kids. And he was like, we're going to have 4 or 5. I would like that. And I was like, I'll have 2 of those. I don't know what you're going to do about the rest. But the Lord, that was another thing to overcome that the Lord worked in me was, the beauty of children and that they are a blessing. And that really had to, just everything that I went through and things that were spoken over me when I was younger about, children and life, and, it might be hard for me because of my body or my grandma or whatever. Like, I just had all these mixed signals about and mixed ideas about being pregnant, having children, and was really more fear-based of having children. And then my mom debated me into that second one, and she won. And then the Lord really worked through me to just open my eyes to, Shikri was our, surprise. I didn't realize I was pregnant until about 12 weeks. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's not a peanut. Why does this baby have arms and legs? And her name literally means gift from God or gift of God, and she really has been. And then he just kept working on me through Aaron and Ian, and yeah, I'm grateful to have them.
And you guys have been married 12 years?
12 years, going on 13.
And I don't know what you feed Shikri, but you guys, when we did a cleaning day here on the grounds of outside the church, Shikri was pushing a wheelbarrow of stuff. I mean, I'm like, how old is this child? She is incredible.
Yeah, they're all. She's got 2 ahead of her and 2 behind her, so she's trying to keep up with the 2 ahead of her.
Yeah. She's got 2 tough
she's
brothers.
Tough. A little bit more about us. So we've been married for 12 years. I was born in Fayetteville, grew up in Charlotte, moved to LA when I was 25. Had a pretty radical encounter with the Lord at 22. That's a really long story. Currently, so I work as a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been doing that now for coming up on 15 years. Primarily spend my days and years marriage crisis, relationship crisis, trauma, addiction, unwanted same-sex attraction. I do premarital, and I've done a decent amount of family work. I'm also a supervisor for graduate students and folks that want to get licensed as well. And 4 years ago, I'm the founder and co-multi-leader of a men's ministry called Every Man, which is for men and for fathers and sons.
I'm glad you said that, because I was just going to, this is a good plug-in for Every Man, if you're not part of Every Man. And there's, this year will be one retreat.
Yeah, we have one weekend, which is a whole weekend, but then throughout the year we have things going on locally. It's open to every man. The guys on our ambassador team, on purpose, all are most of us, I think there's 3 or 4 of us here, but the majority of the team all go to different churches or communities, which is on purpose. But it's open to men, single, divorced, married, never, whatever. And then if you have sons, 6, 7 years old, like 7 years old is what we usually prefer. It's all competition based. We do some discipleship with one-on-one with guys. So it's a lot to get into, but yeah.
And when it's competition, we're talking like competition. You're
Yeah,
gonna
you
sweat.
win and lose.
It's gonna be hard. What were you gonna say?
I say you do win and lose. It's not a.
Yeah.
It's not. There's no participation pressure. Like there's.
But it's fun. It's fun. So if you haven't been part of that, I had the blessing. I mean, was it
The first one.
The first one.
Yeah.
To be able to go and speak to the men, and what a great time. And I mean, like it's, we're just guys, and so there's no women looking around, and so there's men crying, weeping, and just enjoying the presence of God. It's okay for men to cry. It's a good thing. So yeah, it's a blessing.
Okay, so back to marriage. What are some things that you would say, maybe 2 or 3 things that have caused your marriage to be successful? Not perfect, but successful.
Well, some of the things that we discussed and I was thinking about personally was we were trying to form a foundation up front, and so there was a lot of, just not a lot, I'll say just planning, like how do we want to see our marriage, and then some prayers were, one specifically for me is just growing up, and everybody deals with fear, but I didn't want my children to be making decisions out of fear. And when you pray something to the Lord, you don't always know how he's going to work it out. And so he had to work out a lot of fear in me, so I modeled strength and confidence for them. And another thing I don't know if it was a prayer or, but just we didn't want to pass along family things that we knew were in both of our families and how to overcome those. And really that word came to, and it's interesting that on the questions was foundation. And part of that was, God worked out through me as far as like I wanted to work. I was in fashion for a long time. Almost 13 years, and the Lord, through COVID, really led me to homeschooling and being at home. And if you would have said that to me at 18, I would have been like, this is my nightmare. But it really has, when you truly, I think it was the first time I ever really died to myself. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And then I really, truly found life. Like, I really love being at home with my kids. I love taking care of my house. Laundry can even be fun. Doing the dishes, like it's really such a blessing to be able to do what I'm doing.
Wow, beautiful. Love that. So, sometimes we think of relationships in terms of what makes it successful, and especially in the context of marriage. I think that there's some misunderstandings when it comes to love in general. So, what would you say, you guys, that are the key components of making love relationships a successful thing, rather than looking at what the world teaches and the understanding that we get from culture, right? What would you say? I know that we had a great conversation, and you guys mentioned a couple of things that I thought were really poignant. So I'll let you talk about that in a little bit, about the planning, and then, sometimes how we select our partners. We have like these, I think you mentioned 100 criteria for how we want that perfect partner to be. So, you guys.
Yeah, so, when we've been married 12 years, we dated for 7, and then we were engaged for 11. And one of the things that we wanted, things have to be in order, right? And I know this is not the only idea, but one of the things that we've been working on, I would say pretty diligently for the last 8 of those 12 years is, I think there's a way to keep your home in order. And this is what we do, and this is also, if I'm working with couples, what we're trying to integrate into their marriage as well. So it's God, your marriage, you two as individuals, your children, everyone else.
That's right.
Okay, so that's, we think like that, we pray together like that, we practically plan things that we hope are in line with that order as much as we can. And so that gives us a lot of, it gives us a solid, consistent structure to think through and to work on together. It also makes things a little bit more simple because we're not, it's like, no, that's the way to do it, right? We want to honor God first. We want to honor each other, which is the verse you put up there. We do want to take care of ourselves, and then your children will get the best of you. And so we think, and that's one of the things in terms of the list. And I don't know, for those of you that are hoping to get married or maybe engaged, a lot of times we'll go through this process of, we want all of these things, right? We want our spouse to be all of these things. And I had a friend when we lived in LA who had previously been married. He and I were having dinner, and he was looking for, he was hoping to get married again. And he literally had an Excel spreadsheet of 100 characteristics or qualities. And I was, I think I was doing this with a Bible study of guys I was in, and I think I had like maybe 8 or 10 at the time. And he showed me all 100. And he met a girl that he claimed had all 100. And as soon as he was about to propose, she broke up with him. And then he got married probably a year and a half later, and now they have 2 kids, and they're doing great. So all that to say, you do want to identify the things that are most essential and the most important. So when I was going through that and I was thinking through hoping to get married and meet somebody before I met Tennille, there were 4 things that I put on my list. And so those 4 things were, the first thing was that she had her own relationship with the Lord, meaning she was in a community, had friends, read the Bible, prayed on. She did all of that on her own. She wasn't here because somebody brought her. She wasn't here because there were cute guys, whatever the reason was. She was there on her own, and I was there on my own. And then that she had a desire to have a good relationship with her family. Because I didn't know, when I met her, I didn't know what kind of background she was going to have. Right. I just wanted to hear in her heart that regardless of what her family situation was, that she had a desire for things to be right if they could be. And her part in that. The third was that she had a desire to be a mother, because I knew that I wanted to have children. So you don't know if you're going to be able to have children or not, but I wanted that to be a desire of her heart. And then the fourth thing was that she had a beautiful smile, because I'm going to look at her face and her smile more than I'm going to look at her naked body. So it's true. For those of you that aren't married, you're going to look at your spouse's face way more than you look at them in other scenarios. So
It's true. It's true.
So,
Oh, goodness.
Adam had another expression when we talked about it. He says, I don't want to get you into trouble, but I think you should probably just say it.
well, yeah, I said I wanted her to have a beautiful smile, because I'm going to look at her smile way more than I look at her butt.
That's the truth.
It's true.
It's true.
That is the truth.
Yep.
So.
All right. If you were speaking, guys will be guys. Okay. If you were speaking directly to the younger generation, thinking about love relationships, what core truths would you want them to understand about healthy relationships, perhaps even before dating begins? Because we believe that foundations are important. So what are some core truths that you would want them to understand?
I would definitely say develop who you are in Christ up front. And then really speaking to the women here, avoid comparison. It doesn't help you. God has designed you with a purpose. He's given you beauty. Like, find your confidence in him, and then your peace should come from him and not your partner or husband or wife. But really, I want to just talk to the women on that, to have your confidence in the Lord, and that you have a purpose and he has good intentions for you that you will bring to your marriage. And then just also having an understanding of like your role as a wife biblically, and then alignment. Like, the Lord is really, I don't know, that word just keeps coming up for me, just being aligned with the word.
Yeah, I would say to think of it as sacred. I think that's kind of been lost, the idea of the sacredness of marriage and the importance of it, and take it serious. It is, I think, one of the 3 best adventures you get to go on. I'll often say that to folks in my office. The first one's surrendering and following the Lord. The second's getting married, and the third is having kids. But to take it serious, for those of you that are hoping to get married or maybe engaged, it is really important. It's one of the best things that you're going to get to do, and it should be fun. We talked about this on our call. If you meet a married couple, and look, we all know that it's hard already, right? No one would say that it's not hard. Yeah. But if you ask someone how marriage is going, and the first thing out of their mouth is, it's so hard, they're not doing something right. Yeah. So we consciously, it is difficult. There's challenges. You're going to go through what you go through. It's also fun. And so we try to communicate that to couples. It's like, hey, it's a lot of fun. Like, we laugh and play together and, have more enjoyment with each other and our kids than we do conflict and problems and challenges, and we have a host of them. But to think about it in your mind and your heart as, hey, it's sacred and it's a lot of fun.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? When you say, like, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, I just think it's like, if someone's defeated or deflated, right? If you come up to us, to Neil and I, and you were like, hey, how's marriage going? And I'm just like, oh man, it's the hardest thing ever. I can't believe we're stuck. Yeah. Something's not right in me, or something's not right between us, right? It doesn't mean that we don't have bad days or whatever. Right. But I'm talking about as a whole, if you're around someone and they're married, or they're, if you have children, for those of you that have children, I can't tell you how much fun we have with our children. Yeah. I can't even describe. We'd have to record us being in our home and then show it to you
And it's not even big things. We used to literally run circles around our house. We used to call it the running game. We just have music on and we just chase each other. And
why not?
The little dumb things you do that make you almost laugh and cry at the same time. Yeah. And I just want to add to what he was saying as far as marriage and the value. Something that the Lord put on my heart, just in general, is just walking out life. I truly believe that he put us here, and it's not meant to be easy, but it's meant to be worth it. So everything you go through in your marriage, all the hard stuff that God allows, is to grow you, and you need it. And then once you get to around and outside of that, you're like, wow, that was so worth it. I'm better.
Guys, that is so good. That is so good. Lois and I have been married for 40 years, this year. But we have gone through every challenge, every difficulty that we've gone through has made us better. And sometimes I look at her and I say, I would not want to have avoided those situations, because they turned me into the man that I've become. They turned her into the woman that she's become. And that doesn't mean that we enjoyed the process. If you like painful process, if you put your hand up, I'm about to come down and slap you today. Nobody likes the process. Nobody likes the pain. No one enjoys the difficulty, but it's what makes us who we are. And I want to speak to you this morning as a couple, as friends, or maybe relationships with your parents, situations that you may be going through. If you're going through those, embrace the process. Embrace the process. It's okay to go through difficulties as long as God is always first, as you were saying. We have to maintain that focus, that God has to be first and foremost. And so if you're facing challenges and difficulties today in your marriage, talk to somebody that's been through that. Bring it to the Lord. Grow through that. And I promise you that you will look back maybe 5-10 years from today, and it will have been all worth it. Adam, I want to go back to what we were talking about before for a minute, because I think that there are people that experience naturally challenges, and so we create that list of things that we want to see accomplished, right? So I want my girlfriend, my boyfriend to have all of these criteria, right? But it's frustrating. And sometimes it's total failure, right? Because you're like, I'm never going to meet that right person. It's never going to happen. What would you say to someone that's going through like challenges and difficulties in that moment to say, it's like, this is really hard. It's easy for you to say, but I'm in the midst of it and I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, so the first thing I would want to get on their radar is to get them to just pay attention to how they're speaking to themselves. The Bible's very clear on if we speak life or death, right? Those are the two options. I think it's Proverbs. I always get it mixed up. Is it 21:18 or 18:21? Life and death are in the power of the tongue. Those who like it will eat its fruit. Yeah. Right? So like what you say to yourself, right? If you come in and you're discouraged, and we're all discouraged. If you come in and there's conflict or you're in sorrow or you're in grief or you're mourning, look, you have to walk through that. But part of it's also having a perspective that you have a lot of life ahead of you, right? I mean, I've worked with some couples even this week. One was engaged, and they're no longer engaged, and they're both in a lot of despair over that. But they're also really young, and they're gonna walk through what they're walking through. But part of it is we can see, and hopefully you have people around you that can see a little bit further. You're gonna go through things. You just have to walk through them. Find healthy people, wise people around you. Spend time around them. But part of it is developing an outlook or a perspective that is trusting in God for your future, right? I mean, so Tennille and I were 29 when we met, and we got married when I was 31, you were 30. Yeah, because and so we were living in Los Angeles at the time, and a lot of folks, culturally or regionally, there's differences, right? If you're here, it's different. People are getting married when they're, 22 or 23. Out there, people aren't even thinking about getting married till they're 35. They're just out there for other reasons, good, bad, right, or wrong. But I try to encourage a lot of folks, like, hey, if we're both 43 now. If you would have told either one of us, 12 years ago, hey, in the next 12 years, you're going to have moved across the country. You're going to have bought and sold a bunch of homes. You're going to have 5 children. You're going to start your own business. All of this stuff's going to happen. Neither one of us would have believed you. Yeah. We wouldn't have believed you. I would be like, that's crazy. 5 kids? Yeah. What are you talking about? So part of it's just you have to get people around you that are wiser than you, that have a little bit, they're a few steps ahead, and that you trust them and that you'll listen to them. They don't have all the answers, but surrounding yourself with people that are just a little bit ahead is, I think, a very wise thing to do.
Yeah. So. And I love that. I mean, Adam and I, when we've grabbed coffee a couple of times, and we talk a lot about the fact that sometimes in church today we don't place as much value on mentoring and discipling individuals one-on-one. And, as a result, I think we have kingdom in general. I'm talking about church and maturity levels being very low because we're not tapping into the right individuals. And it's important to do that. It's important to do that because it brings value, I think, to all of us. And I have not had that many, and probably none of us have, but maybe put them on one hand. But there's individuals that just bring that perspective and bring life that is just so incredibly needed for each and every one of us. Guys, one question here. For anyone that may be thinking of marriage, and even for some of you that are married already, the concept that we talk about chemistry, right? We talk about the soulmate. Everyone wants to have the perfect chemistry. I want the soulmate, as we were talking about before, to have all of these lists of things that just create that affinity between the two of them. So do you think that more than the concept of soulmate and chemistry, is that more of a matter of timing and maturity that matters most? I mean, you can have that list of criteria that you're waiting for that perfect individual to fill, but is it that, or is it more timing? Is it more maturity? Sometimes when I look at, in our marriage, Lois and I we met when we were 18, and we got married. I was 18, she was 19. We got married when I was 20 and she was 21. Babies. Like, we were talking about it yesterday. I don't even know how we raised our kids. God bless those kids. But you know what? God gives. My son and daughter are sitting here, so I'm kind of looking at them as I'm saying it. But God gives us a great opportunity with grandkids. Thank God for grandkids. It's redeeming time. Any of you have grandkids? Clap your hands to that. Yeah. It's redeeming time for all the mistakes that we made. But chemistry versus timing, what do you guys say about that?
It's funny, we were having a little bit of debate about it in the car, but I wanted to talk about two things with that. So my parents are very similar to you guys, where they met in high school and they dated for 3 years. So they met at 16, were married at 19, and so that was kind of, in my mind, what was going to happen too. I was going to meet my husband really quickly, and we were going to be married. I was going to leave my parents' house and then be married. And I even wrote a paper about my parents. They really complemented each other. Where one was weak, the other was strong. And they both lost a parent really young, and they could go through that together, and they had to really grow up together. And which I had to learn to have grace for, because I definitely really judged my parents, and I had to ask them forgiveness for just all the things that I judged them for. And then, two, the concept of soulmate. Like, I do believe biblically, like, if God created Adam and Eve, and we were taken, like, from Adam's side, and God created marriage, that there is some sort of, like, when you become one with your husband, you are essentially soulmates. So I do believe in some sense that there's one for you, and I do also believe that you should have a foundation for the important things of looking for, like, your person. And even as Adam wrote his list, the very year that I met him, and I had never done this before, I was like, oh, we'll see it when it comes. And I think that was just unwise, or I don't know if I didn't really think of it, but I did write a list, and it was basically a lot of the same things. I wanted him to choose. I wanted a man that had chose God himself, because I had dated before where I felt like because I grew up going to church. I accepted the Lord when I was really, really young and was walking it out, obviously not perfectly, but when I dated, I always felt like I was the one that was trying to, like, well, take me to church, and I was like, oh, I feel like you should go on your own, and I don't want to, like, I shouldn't lead you there. But I had to come to the maturity of, like, okay, what do I actually want, and what's important, and, children, healthy friendships, healthy relationships, wanting health in general. Like, I didn't want to date somebody that drank a lot. I didn't want to date somebody who was a smoker. I wanted somebody who wanted health. And so I literally met him like a week later. And he matched those things, and I think that matters. When God was like, okay, your mind is on the right track of, like, who you should be with.
When you're going through, sometimes those crazier seasons of life, what helps keep you both aligned? Do you nix certain things? Do you say, we're not going to do that in this season? We just, what is some of your strategy?
Yeah, so we'll talk about that practically, but also one of the things that we do consistently, and we started, and look, there's an evolution in your marriage. What I mean by that is you're going to go, if you would have told us to be doing the things that we are doing now consistently, the idea is that we would have started them 12 years ago. We didn't do any of these things. But for the last 5 years, we started on Sunday evenings just sitting down with each other and praying with each other, right? Just the two of us together. That was a consistent time that we did it together. It didn't mean that we didn't do it on our own or that we didn't read on our own. We started that. And then 3 years ago, we started reading the Bible together consistently. Now we do it most nights of the week, 4, 5 maybe. There's always, we're sports fans, so we might be up too late watching a basketball game, and then it's not going to happen. But we set those foundations first, right? So we plant those seeds, and God will grow those first. But then even on the practical front, with 5 kids, we just recently made a decision. Our 2 oldest are playing basketball right now. Shikri does gymnastics. They wanted to play flag football in the spring. There's no league close to us, and so we just made the decision, hey boys, sorry, there's not a league that's close. We're going to take the spring off, and there's everyman stuff. There's stuff that they'll be involved in, and then hopefully they're all going to swim in the summer, right? So we'll just make those kinds of decisions. If you have multiple kids and there's stuff to do around your house and you make your house fun, and we're all for sports, but I think a lot of parents get caught up too in we're going to do the order is out of order, right? Kids go to the top. We're going to do everything for our kids. That's not going to work. It won't work. And I know that because all the people, if you come into my office, if you're a married couple and you come into my office and I have you rank those 4 in order, that's one of the first things I have couples do, right? Almost always, the ones who are sitting in my office are the ones who have it out of order. God is probably not on the list or very number 3. Their kids are at the top. Their marriage might be second. It's like, oh, well, now we understand why you're sitting here, right? And you're just, so making decisions. And look, David and I talked about this. We talked about this on our call. Our kids are, on the top half of whatever in terms of athletic ability, right? Or the boys are, but they're not the best on their teams. And a lot of parents, I talk to, they're making these decisions for their kids to be involved in, whether it's baseball or basketball or volleyball or football or whatever. And they're running all over the city or the region, and it's just taxing the family. It's too much on the family. I love my kids. They're great. My boys are not going to play in the NBA. They're just not. It's just reality. I wouldn't tell them that they wouldn't have a chance, but you have to be realistic with your kids, right? Encourage them. Tell them if they work hard and they're a great teammate and they put in effort, they can go pretty far. Yeah. So you don't tell them flat out at 11, you're not going to do that. But we have to know as parents, if we do this for years and we're traveling and spending money, it's well, then who's that hurting the most? Right. And the answer isn't the kids. Well, it is the kids. It's us, which maybe, and I've met families that do this, right? They do this for 10 years and they got a great baseball player, but they're in my office because they're getting divorced. So you got a great baseball player at 15. Maybe he plays in college, but he's not going to have a family that he goes home to after college. So, that may be a little bit of an extreme example, but.
No, that is true. And, one of the things that Lois and I try to do in our marriage through the years is that we cherish the time that when the kids were in bed, it's bedtime, it's bedtime. Now it's mom and dad time. And we always focus on this one thing that, children grow up and eventually move out. And we're thankful that we have 3 wonderful children that have children of their own. And so they have grown out. They've established their own families. They've established their own relationships. Now it's our time. And I know that there's a lot of couples, and I don't know if you ever talk to any of those, Adam, but couples that when they get to a place of being empty nesters, it's like life is over. What do we do now? How do you start if you focus your entire attention on the children and other relationships outside of this relationship? A lot of people want to know, what makes you guys successful? Like Lois and I have put in a lot of work in our marriage, guys. It's not for the faint of heart. You have to really work hard at it in order to make it successful. There's no success without trial and tribulation sometimes and really working hard. Blood, sweat, and tears. But you know what? It counts. It matters at the end. Does it?
It does.
I just wanted to be sure.
It does.
So let's talk a little bit for a few minutes about conflict. When conflicts arise, and they will, what is the key to fight for connection instead of fighting each other. Conflict management is a huge thing within couples. So I know we had a great conversation on this together. What do you think, Tennille? We'll start with you.
So, lots of thoughts. What I had to learn as far as when I communicate or how I communicate to Adam, as a personality, I like to take time to think, what do I want? What do I need? If my emotions are up here, I don't like that. I don't want to communicate like that, so I want to take some time. And so I had to also learn to, Adam as a man, understand, well, one thing I started to understand about him is like, and this, maybe all the guys are like this, but he needs a goal. He wants to work towards something. And so when I express a need or a want, I need to, one, tell him something that I need him to do or not to do, and then we can discuss it and just be clear about that. And then also just when I'm going through my emotions, I'm even learning now, even more so, just to leave my emotions with the Lord so he can help me see clearer, just going to him with clarity and calmness. And then I was listening to something recently, and it was really good for me because I'm very visual. When we're in a conflict, and we talk about team a lot as a married couple, to have the problem is out here. And Adam and I are over here together trying to work it out. And when things arise, like something the Lord put on my heart too, was like, when there is something revealed to you, it's not for condemnation's sake, but it's for redemption's sake. And so if that's the goal, to redeem something, to heal something, then I'm going to approach it a certain way. And when I get that, my emotions aside and the clarity of the true goal, then we work through our conflict differently. And so managing it and getting through it, because I think there's a two-part thing to managing it and then actually being able to get to a resolution. Because if you can't manage it well and healthily and without trying to ravage each other, you won't come to a resolution.
Yeah, I'll add to that. Even practically, so we've been together for essentially 13 years, a little bit more. We've never called each other names. We've never cussed at each other. We don't, and this is for the younger folks too, we do not have conversations through texts. It doesn't work. Like, there's just real practical things, and so, look, some of you, I don't know where everybody stands in their faith, but you'd be like, Christians cuss at each other and call each other names. Yeah, we do. Like, if you don't have self-control, you can be mean to your spouse. But we don't let those kinds of things come out, right? So we don't have those kinds of wounds. We have hurt each other, but we're not speaking death to each other. I'm not calling her names or whatever. And you'd be surprised what people call maybe not, but,
Share about what we talked when you're arguing proximity.
Yeah, so one of the things that we have gotten better at over the years is if there is conflict and we're trying to resolve it, it is having the mindset that it's Adam and Tennille versus whatever the problem or the conflict is. But it's also we sit face to face. We sit now, depending on where our emotions might be, we might not want to touch each other. But we're close enough to at least touch each other. And that helps with you'll learn self-regulation or self-control if you're close to somebody. Even if you'll learn to breathe. Well, there's different things you can learn how to do that you're capable of learning how to do. If you're further apart and you get angry, you're just a lot more likely to either leave, or if you have, I hate things being in between us, like our island in our kitchen or whatever. If you're gonna have conflict, try to be as close as you can for one another, and make contact. It's gonna help keep you a little bit more calm. It's going to engender trust between the two of you and what you say. And you're just more likely to get agitated and more exacerbated or larger actions the further apart you are. The other thing that we would do, and this necessarily in conflict, is if we just hadn't connected well for a day or two or whatever, and we might be driving to church or going somewhere with our family, is we learn to, as an image, just kind of voice how far away each other felt. What I mean by that is like we might be sitting next to each other in our vehicle this far apart. But we might, in my mind, I'm like, man, I just feel like I'm not close to her, or I just feel really disconnected. It feels like she's 3 miles apart. And I would just say, hey, I feel like I'm 3 miles apart from you right now. How far apart are you? And she'd be like, I feel like I'm right next to you. It's like, so that's me, right? That means that there was something in me that was disconnected from her.
Yeah. No, that's good. Every once in a while we have that conversation where most of the times I'm the more clueless of the couple here. And she'll just tell me sometimes, we've been so busy, I feel disconnected from you. And she is just not, she's not complaining. She's just saying, you know what, in the midst of it all, sometimes, but, sometimes in the midst of the craziness of life, like, don't forget me, right? And we all have different, I think that, we talked about the need. Men have different needs than women in terms of what we run after, right? And we tend to forget that we need to establish the connection. And we need to make sure that we're not distant from each other. And so when Lois tells me I feel disconnected from you, she's not telling me I don't like you right now. She's just saying I need a little bit of what you're giving to everybody else. And I've had to learn that sometimes even just as we sit in front of TV at night, we're watching a show or whatever, it's okay for, just for me to reach over and just, rub her back or just tell her, you know what, I love you. And it's okay for us men to come out of that. I think that some of the challenges that we experience are related to our family of origin. You guys all understand when I say family of origin, right? These are parents and her parents, and so family of origin. How would you say on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like the most important, 1 being the least important, where would you place that in terms of priority and importance as we develop our relationship with one another?
I would put it maybe at an 8. I think it's important to know it. I don't think it directs or should direct how your relationship goes. I think it should be more of a signal or a marker to be like, hey, like it's like my background with my family was I remember a lot of unity, a lot of playfulness, watching movies. I also remember seeing my parents argue and come back together, and then eventually there was a fracture, but that also I got to see visually what happens when your family stops regularly going to church. Just things started to shift away, and then the shifts in, me, my brother, and my sister. And then eventually what I was talking to Adam about in the car actually too is like I believe that the Lord shut everything down. Like I believe he wanted my parents together. And this was when they were talking divorce, and mainly my mom. They had already been married for over 28 years, so they were already together for like 30 years, and it's like, what are you doing to figure that out? But that was my immature naivety of not understanding, all the things that you go through in marriage and why you would actually want to just give up. But my mom had so many plans to leave, and eventually her apartment, the couches, all the things that she bought were just like she lost her apartment, everything that she had planned to do, and like we all ended up together. My parents lived together for about 8 years, divorced in separate rooms, and I was still there. I didn't move to Los Angeles till I was 27. And whilst being there, and Adam and I eventually finding each other and developing a relationship, they got remarried the same year that Adam and I got married. And so I got to see the beauty of, I believe, a good picture of what God wanted for marriage, and then how it can fall apart, and then how it can come back together. And I think all of those things brought fractures and damage in me, but also showed me a a full circle of how God can restore and the pain and to humble you, because I really was unhealthily brought into my parents' problems. Like, they would talk to me about it, and I would be talking at them about how to solve their problems, which I brought into my marriage. Like, oh, this is going to be a snap handling conflict. All you got to do is this. And I'm like, oh my God, Ab and I have been fighting for 2 hours. It's not as easy as I thought. During these past 12 years, I've gone to my parents and I'm like, I judged you a lot. Sorry about that. I get it. I get it. But it's good. That's how, God grows you. So I believe it is important, but it's my responsibility to take responsibility for me. And I believe that's maturity, like to understand that I should be humble when I look at my parents because they've been here longer and they've gone through more. And regardless if I see it as, well, they should have worked this out by now, it's not for me to say because I still got stuff to work on.
It's important. One thing I would say, though, is to keep in mind that your family of origin, whatever was modeled for you, you can learn from it. But also, you aren't fundamentally your dad or your mom. Like, you need to remember that too, right? Like, I came from my background. My parents had a really fractured and tumultuous, chaotic relationship, and then they divorced when I was 18. And then so part of it was understanding, okay, well, I have characteristics of them and traces of them, and that's okay. I need to know what they are. But I'm not my dad. Right. I'm not my mom, right? So, like, you are your own person. And if your identity is formed and matured before you come into marriage, like, that stuff is still going to be hovering, and you'll work through what you need to work through with your spouse. But you do need to, because especially with premarital, like, people get worried. Like, are we going to have the same thing that, they come in and they're like, well, I don't want my parents' marriage. I'm like, hey, guess what? You're not them. It's okay. Like, you got to work through stuff. But you need to have in your mind and your heart that you aren't exactly who they are.
Yeah, that's good. That's one of the things that we wish that we would have done better. I come from dysfunctional relationship. My mom and dad fought publicly in front of us, and noise level 100%, like screaming at each other. And so I wanted to avoid that, and we avoided that as much as possible. In fact, I think probably to an extreme. What would you say about that? Like fighting
we would
in
do it
private?
in the bedroom. We would argue and fight it out in the bedroom, but I am disappointed that we didn't realize that, hey, you can model something greater to your kids when you argue, or we didn't fight fists, of course, I don't mean that, but when you have something going on, an episode, but you come back together and they see that modeled. So yeah.
I wanted to so much not be like my dad, screaming and fighting, that we went the opposite side, where we would go into a room to talk. And that's probably not the best, right? And I think that you're right, that we, trying to model that for our children, to see that you can have disagreement, but coming together is just so valuable, so important.
And I think that's necessary, right? Don't hide things. If you have children, don't hide things from them. But then the way that I go back to, we haven't cussed each other, we don't call each other names, we don't demean each other. You can do that in front of your children, and they might say, hey, will you guys stop arguing or whatever? But they also can see us, hey, come back together, and we're sitting on the couch, 10 minutes later, holding each other's hands, looking into each other's eyes, praying with each other. And we teach them that as well, right? So one of the things that I'm really glad that we started to plant in our kids was we've taught them since they were very young to, if they did something wrong to a sibling or whatever, to say, hey, here's what I did wrong, will you forgive me?
Yeah.
So our kids don't say they're sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
They ask each other for forgiveness. And so I think that's another thing too, right? Because it's very easy. I've done it. I've said I'm sorry to somebody, and I walk away, and I'm like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, because it's not an invitation.
Yeah.
Will you forgive me? If I hurt you and I say, will you forgive me? You can say no.
Yeah.
But if I'm like, I'm sorry, I hope you're good, and go the other way, like, it's not actually good for
same.
us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's true for all relationships,
For
not
all
just
relationships,
marriages. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's getting close to that time, but I have one final question. If you could leave one sentence of wisdom for every generation, what would it be?
I want to read it because I really liked that. Sorry. I really liked that, and I wrote it down. And I put, align your foundational view with the Lord's view, which is, it's always good and always from a place of purpose, strength, and triumph.
Love that.
I would say don't quit. Just don't give up hope, regardless of where you are in your walk with the Lord, or married, not married, kids, no kids. Whatever you've walked through, don't quit, and put yourself around people that will encourage you and that are hopeful, and that believe in your future too, that can tell you, hey, you're going to be here for a while, but you won't be here forever.
Wow, so good. Oh, wow. This was a blessing. I don't know about you. Did you enjoy that? No? You know, we're all human, flesh and blood, sinful. We all have patterns, sinful patterns and behaviors that don't please the Lord. And we need His grace. We need His strength. So before I ask Adam or Tennille, we'll both to close us in prayer, we always try to make time for anybody that wants prayer. And then we'll definitely, as the service ends, we'll be here if some of you guys are, as couples, are going through struggles, or maybe you have had a difficulty finding a significant one. You want us to pray for you. We'll be glad to do that. But for a moment before we pray, there could be, we don't know what's going on in the privacy of your home, but God does, and He sees and He knows every step of the way. So I want you to maybe recommit to your spouse this morning. Maybe grab their hands and just kind of like feel each other's heartbeat again. It's okay to go through challenges and difficulties as long as we go back to the source, and it's God. I will tell you that there's nothing that has made a greater difference in my individual life, in my personal life toward my wife, in our relationship, is my closeness with Jesus. If I am far from Him, I am no good for anybody, especially starting with the closest person to me, that's my wife, and then my children, and then, all of you guys. We would be no good to you if we're not close to Jesus. And maybe you're going through struggles in your own life. Well, tell Him this morning as they lead us in a time of prayer. Take some steps toward health in your personal life, health in your marriage, health in all the relationships around you. Remember, this is not only applicable to spouses, but it's also applicable to all of us in all of the relationships in our lives. And so just take a moment to just think about that. And maybe we'll just take a minute quietly to just meditate. Just grab the hand of your significant other, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, I don't know where you're at, and just recommit to each other for a moment. And if you guys can lead us into a prayer at the end, we'll just take a minute.
Thank you for listening to our Sermon of the Week. If you live in the Charlotte area, we encourage you to worship with us on Sundays at 10 a.m. We encourage you also to give to this ministry so we can continue spreading the gospel to our city and throughout the world. You can go to our website at missioncommunity.cc, click on the Give button, and the rest is simple. Have a great rest of your week. God bless.